Hi, in this tutorial we're going to see how to create this hologram effect in Godot 4. I have created this model to use in different tutorials. You can use any model you want, or you can just use a mesh instance available in Godot. First of all, I'm going to create a new shader with the name Hologram. After that, I'm going to set unshaded mode and shadows disable. First, I create the fragment function, and then I am going to create a new include file. In this file, I am going to add a function to generate random numbers. This function is nothing more than the sine function with a huge frequency to which the fract function of GLCL is applied. So I limit the range from 0 to 1. Let's test this function to see the result it returns. If I use the UV map, the random value is not represented correctly, as my UV map is really bad distorted, as you can see here. So let's use the screen UV so we don't depend on the UV map. Now I am going to copy and paste another function very similar to the previous one, with the difference that this function receives a vector as parameter and uses the dot product. I am going to remove this additional vector because it creates animation. So you can see the result here, and it's very good. It has a very nice distribution. Now I am going to add again the additional vector that contains the time variable and adds animation to the noise. Also, I am going to add the Fresnel effect, which is the dot product of the normals of the mesh and the vector of the camera to the fragment. Here we can see the result, and it's very common and looks very nice. I am going to combine this with the noise, and I am going to apply this effect to the alpha. Now I am going to generate the event lines using the grid. If you want to know more, I have this tutorial. Now I am going to generate the grid using a uniform variable, lines 1. I declare the uniform, and I am going to display this in the mesh. Here you can see the grid. I can increase its size, and I have to divide it to be able to visualize the result. Here is the grid. Now I am going to use this little formula, which is the modulo of 2, to generate the odd and even lines. I have to remove the division, and I am going to increase the resolution, and I am going to remap the result using the mix function. This is because I don't want full black values. Now I will multiply the lines with the rest of the mask, and we have this result. Next, I am going to adjust the color, declaring a uniform variable. And this looks good for me at the moment. Now I am going to create the next set of lines that are random. I will use again the grid And I am using animation this time using the time variable. I declare a new uniform variable lines2. And assign the random function. I'm going to output the result in the mesh. It looks very nice, but this is not what I want. Instead, I want just two sets of black and white lines. So I am using the step function, and I get this result. And I am going to remap using the mix function. So I get gray values. Now I am going to combine all the previous effects, just multiplying them. And since I am using the unshaded mode, I have to multiply the color by a value to generate the emission effect. So I declare a new emission uniform. So I can adjust the value. And I am going to create a variable 2 to adjust the Fresnel effect. I adjust the Fresnel, the emission, and change the color. And it looks a little better, and we are getting close to the final result. I adjust the glow value in the environment too. Now, we are going to manipulate the vertices to generate the effect of distortion in the hologram, something like glitches in the signal. So I start with the easiest one, adding a constant value that makes the character move. If we apply the sign of time, it moves from side to side. If I multiply by a value, it makes it move faster. And if I add the vertex y value, it has this waveform movement. It looks extreme since I have the speed of the video increased. Besides, it generates a big distortion in the character, which we have to decrease by multiplying by a fraction. That's about right, I think. Now, something interesting is that I am going to generate random numbers from the time, and just to test it, I am going to multiply it by the distortion value. You can see a jumping effect, and it looks very nice. But this is not what we want in this case. What I want is a random distortion based on probability. To do this, I will use the step function with a very small value. Then the probability of the effect being activated will be lower. Because I am selecting a very small range from random values. Because there is a nice distribution. Now, I am going to pass this random distortion variable to the fragment function using a button. And I am going to apply this to the emission value by increasing the original value by 5, depending if the random distortion is 0 or 1. I will adjust the emission a little bit, also the percentage of probability, I can adjust the Fresnel value, and as you can see, it looks pretty good. You can adjust it as you like. And this is the final effect.